Hey, 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 this is Dr. Pam Perry, and you are in for a treat with Omar L. Harris. He is our October special edition during Black Business Month. And Omar is on the cover. I got him live in the green room right now. I'm going to bring him up right after this. But I'll tell you a little bit about Omar. He's the award winning author of this book, The J.E.D.I Leaders Playbook. And then there's four more in addition to that, and then talk about his new book. But I'll bring him up right after this. We're talking about the power of the pivot. What does that mean? So we're in August now. We're talking about the power of the pivot. What are we pivoting from and where are we pivoting to? Okay, so bring him up right after this. So, just to give you a little bit of background, he is a global executive who's teaching leaders how to speak up, build strong teams, and lead on purpose. You can read all about it in the magazine. But when you've led $1 billion brands off of 4 continents, that is the US, the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America, you understand pressure. You understand performance, and he is that executive success coach. And most importantly, he understands people. That is the edge that you're going to be hearing about today, about leadership and really people. He's in the people business. So welcome, Omar. Hey there.
Sunday, Pam. Happy
How
Sunday.
are
How we
you?
doing? I'm doing
Good,
great.
good. So we had to catch you on a Sunday because you have been busy. You have been doing some traveling.
Yes,
You've been
ma'am.
doing
Yes,
some
ma'am.
traveling. What kind of things have you been doing? You were doing some client work or
Yeah,
explain
so I'm
what it
doing
is.
a bunch of leadership workshops for one of my largest clients, and we're going all over the country to talk to talk to all of their teams and help them construct high trust communication contracts, build high collaboration, manage change more effectively, and lean into their team DNA, the strengths that make them uniquely powerful, and to build a high performance organization from that. So I'm doing that for the next 4 weeks. So I'm going to Durham, North Carolina tomorrow, going to San Francisco a week after that, DC after that, Tampa after that. So I'm on the road for the next 4 weeks, man.
I love it. I love it. So give us a backstory how you are able to do this. And it's real interesting. You said you were a global executive, you were in corporate America. So give us a little walkthrough of your background and then how you started your corporate career and where it has led to all the books and all the thought leadership pieces that you're doing.
Well, it all starts with, from a college perspective, FAMU, Florida A&M University. Hello to all my Rattlers out there watching the stream right now. So those of you know the School of Business and Industry at Florida A&M University, we were called the Marines of the business schools in America, and we're taught basically really how to integrate effectively into corporate America, but more so to be the transformation that corporate America leads. So we had that burden coming in from the beginning of my career. And I started my pharmaceutical career back in 1998 as a sales rep for Pfizer in Detroit, Michigan, a place you know very well, Pam. So did that. And then I got a chance to go to Brazil for the first time as an intern when I was 23. And that really set me on a new path in terms of just my own self-awareness journey, learning who I was in a very different context, having grown up in really small towns in Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Lake Charles, Louisiana, going to school in Tallahassee, Florida, and then moving to a city with almost 20 million people. It's like, wow, what is going on here? And then I knew that the pharmaceutical industry was where I wanted to kind of make my claim because of the important work that the pharma industry does around healthcare and preventing diseases and helping people live longer, live better lives, live more fulfilled lives. And so I kind of decided to work in pharma. And then I had a 20-year pharmaceutical career over 4 continents. So I went to Brazil 3 times over the course of that career for over 6 years. I worked in the Middle East. Lived in Turkey for 2.5 years and worked with 30 different countries in the Middle East, North Africa, and Commonwealth of Independent States region, which is Ukraine and all the Bajans, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, all the stans, Azerbaijans, and then I went to Southeast Asia, Indonesia, where I was a general manager for 3.5 years, and then I returned to Brazil in 2018 as president and general manager of that country with another pharma company. And then I've been doing Intent Consulting, my own business, since 2020. So I just passed my 5-year anniversary, Pam. And Intent Consulting is really where I put everything that I've learned over the course of my career, all of the thought leadership, all of the publishing, all of the executive coaching experience, team facilitation, even technology now, put it all together for my clients to basically help us elevate the practice of leadership so that we can improve employee experience. And by improving employee experience, we can then finally provide better outcomes for more stakeholders, like the community, like our customers, like the environment, and of course, provide deeper shareholder returns. So that's really kind of the evolving philosophy that I've picked up and acquired and leaned into over the course of my career, all these different places I've lived, and really keeping people at the heart of everything that I do.
But you did a lot of that in your 20s. That part you didn't really kind of like go into. So we're talking about how many promotions over how many years, like like so let's go like at the beginning. So Omar is traveling, as a young person all over the country, living in different places, and primarily you're going to predominantly white schools. You were always like the one black
Yeah,
kid that was always at the
yeah,
white schools.
true,
And then
true.
you go to a HBCU,
Yeah,
historically black college university, and then you excel there and you get your master's degree by what age?
25.
25. And at that point though, you were already working in the industry. You had already done internships and things like that in Brazil.
Brazil and Detroit. So I already had 3 years of pharma experience before I started my corporate career because of the program at SBI at FAMU.
Yes, and see that part people don't really get. It's like you were set up for this.
For
So
sure.
when you were doing those type of things, you're 25 years old, you're working in another country, you've got a different culture of people that you're leading. How are you developing? How did your background and your expertise lead you to being the type of leader that you eventually became? And then were there any hiccups in between, like okay, now you're over all these folks, this is what you're doing, good luck, Omar, here you go. What were some of the preps that you
That's
knew you
what it
had?
is. It's sink or swim, right? I mean, like there is no one of the problems I'm trying to solve today is sink or swim onboarding, where you pay all this money to bring people into a corporation. You don't give them any support, very little training, and kind of you just want to see who stays afloat and who dies. And it didn't have to be that way, Pam. But yeah, early on in my career, living in Brazil as a young man, assimilating into a culture of very different people than myself, falling in love with that culture, really set me up because it all comes back down to understanding where you are and figuring out how you can flex yourself within that context. And leadership is about flexing yourself to the people who are around you. So the worst leaders are ones you make people adapt to you, and the
Mm,
best leaders are the ones who can adapt to the people that they work with. And so I learned that at an early age, that adaptation was not a flaw. It was actually a critical success factor that would allow you to connect with far more people and allow you to be more successful. And I think that's the first kernel of that seed was planted as a young person working in Brazil in that context, and then bringing
or
that back
even
to the US.
even before that too, Omar, because you were moving around a lot. You went from
Yeah, true.
Philly to Louisiana. I mean, culturally, each city is, very different. That
Right.
it's South Carolina, Louisiana, Philly. I mean, so when you're going to the different schools, it's not like you're moving from one side of the city to the other side of the city. You're going in a whole nother culture of south,
Yeah,
north, northeast versus down south. So that part right there, you had to adapt anyway
for
and
sure.
learn how to flow with people. And
Yeah,
then you go to an HBCU, which is different because you weren't really raised in a whole lot of around a whole lot of black people. So now we've got a whole nother thing that you're adapting to, and it's very similar to someone who was like, okay, I'm culturally in a whole nother country. So you were kind of built for that in terms of going and adapting to different cultures and situations and to people, which makes you a good leader because you're not trying to make them adapt to you. What you're saying is that you're seeing the lay of the land. How do you serve the people that you're working with? Okay. And I
Yeah.
see hi to Nicholas Dillon over there. He says, hey, how are you? Good seeing you too. Make sure you go to Omar L. Harris, Nicholas Dillon, MS. You got all these letters. I just love it that, we've got all these MS, MA, leadership consultant, professional speaker, best-selling author, all behind our names. Omar has the same thing as well. He's got an MBA, leadership consultant, professional speaker, best-selling author. It's a wonderful time we live in. And he also has the thought leadership badge on LinkedIn as well. So I will say that as well as an award-winning, was it the Kirkus Review? Uh,
Kirkus Review, top 100 indies of
yes.
last year, and hopefully get another one this year with the new book coming out.
Yes, yes, yes. So we'll talk about the new book in a minute, the Whom book.
Yeah.
So you have all these things that you're doing in your 20s, and then really about 30ish or so, it's like you're at this point, where are you in your career? Because you've done Turkey, you've done Middle East, you've done Asia.
Well, that came later. So I became the youngest marketing director in the history of my company at 29. And then I became the youngest senior marketing director in the history of my company at 31. And then years later, I became one of the youngest general managers in the world at 38. And so, breaking kind of boundaries was something that was kind of becoming normal and like commonplace
Mhm.
for me. In the middle of between 31 and 38, I published my first fiction novel, and that book, also got a Kirkus star, and that book also was read by 75,000 people. So it was really kind of like on this run where you just try to maximize. I've been trying to maximize my potential as a human on earth. That's really, and I want to help other people maximize their potential, which is why I love executive success coaching so much.
And the book also, the first book that you did became a movie, if I'm a documentary
We're
or
working on it. We're working on it. Still trying to make a TV series out of it, but it's
yes.
in process.
But yeah, those are the things that you're out of your comfort zone a lot and you're pushing
Always,
other people to be out of their comfort zone to do their maximum potential. So
always.
now tell us now where you are. You've written the books. Name all the books now. Name all the babies, I guess you would say.
So then we have
Name all the kids.
so from 2019 to now, I've published Leaderboard, the DNA of High Performance Teams, the Servant Leaders Manifesto, the Jedi Leader, Be a Jedi Leader, Not a Boss,
Right.
Leading Change, the Four Keys, the Jedi Leader's Playbook,
Mm-hmm.
and now Hire the Right Whom, How to Build a High Performing Team with Work Ethic, Heart, Optimism, and Maturity.
Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that his books are, so I'll just open up a little bit. It's not just a book, it is like a lesson. So you will see graphs, you will see his theories, you will see the research that is put. You can't find this on Chat GPT. Okay, I'm gonna just say that right now. These are things that basically, when he goes all in, when Omar goes all in that, he really talks about some of the processes or the frameworks that he teaches. Really, you talk about here, Jedi professional might be experiencing high rates of burnout. So you talk about the emotional labor, the under-resourced, the unrealistic expectations, resistance to change, and constant need to prove value. And really, you kind of like give it. You're in the head of a leader who was feeling a certain thing. So I'm gonna talk to the elephant in the room. This is Black Business Month.
Yes.
And 2020 was a big year for a lot of change in the world. People were marching all over. They were just really upset about the murder of George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And diversity, equity, inclusion became like the buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of companies were throwing money at these programs. And we've had this conversation before on Expert Insight as well. And they were thinking they were doing a good thing. So they had this money. I won't say it was guilt money, but they knew that there was some things that obviously that systemic racism is just, they were just figuring out, how do we fix it? How do we make our corporations? So during that time, a lot of people got certified as DEI experts, and they were like, we're going to be certified and we're going to come into your corporation and we're going to just teach you how to be good people. So give us what happened in 2025 when we have a new administration that says DEI, we got to get rid of DEI. You can't put can't you can't keep it in education, you can't keep it in the government, you can't keep it in the armed forces. Like, so what is happening? And then how can people pivot from that over the last few years that we've just been marching and thinking we're going forward with DEI?
Right.
This was some good, but ultimately it became a curse right now in 2025 because people are whitewashing that word from websites and all that kind of thing. So let's
Mhm.
talk about your personal experience and then what people can be doing.
Yeah, so I mean, just like everyone else, who was a fire was sparked inside of you, some outrage, was sparked inside of us when we're seeing, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and all that was happening in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
And for the first time, we're actually seeing corporations respond, and we felt that, okay, wow, this is a kind of blue ocean for us to kind of go into and actually make some change happen. And the first thing we underestimated was the extent of which the allyship was performative versus real, right? And so most of the allyship we were seeing from corporate partners was performative. It wasn't actually, it was more in the lines of corporate social responsibility. It was about external branding and virtue signaling versus actually doing the work internally. And when
Mm,
I got into the space, it was about doing the work internally that I've been doing my entire career to elevate people, to elevate practices, to improve conditions for employees, so that we can do better for customers, the environment, communities, and everything like that. So I just continued. It was an extension of my existing work, so I wasn't new to the space, um, and I understood what was happening. This was an opportunity for us to come into the space, but we were coming in with too much of an activism approach into a corporate space.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that
so
is true.
so activism, usually we were framing everything as anti-racism, anti-sexism, and so anti is fundamentally what are we, it declares what we are against. So it's important for us to understand what we're against. But we were dealing with people who were trying to declare they were not racist, not sexist, not genderist, not ableist. So the establishment is saying, oh, don't call me that, I'm not that. We're saying we have to go from not that to against this. So we need to get you off the fence and get you into the game. I
Hmm.
realized early on, like in the 22, 23, that actually this was not inspiring the proper behavior from the people that we were working with. And we had to go from anti to for. What are we for in this? We're
Yeah,
for freedom, for opportunity, for innovation, for engagement and productivity. That's a pivot that I made back in 2022 to say, let's bring people together behind what we're all for versus dividing ourselves by what we may or may not be against. That's
that's
one
good.
thing. The second
Great.
thing is that we should have all anticipated this reaction if we understand how human beings react to change. So the first reaction to change is anger, denial, resistance. And so we should not be shocked psychologically that people we're asking to change are reacting in this way. And so when you understand human psychology and you understand the basis of change, then you know that we're going to have to implement a lot of different types of strategies to get people from resistance to acceptance.
Hmm.
And so I began pivoting back in 22 and saying, listen, okay, I need to enhance my approach because I'm not bringing everybody under the tent that I need to. And how do I actually expand the tent for all of us to spin? It really came down to declaring what we're for and agreeing on what we're for together. And that began bringing my clients on the journey with me so that we could actually keep doing the work that we're doing. And my work has not slowed down in the least in 2025, Pam, because of that pivot I began making back in
Hmm.
22, 23.
I like the fact that you said if you're going to be a speaker, a workshop leader, a trainer, that you go in with what are we for, not against, because immediately people are going to, if you start judging people, if you start accusing people, if you try to make them feel like that they're guilty, they are going to be angry, they're going to resist. and you can't get the best out of the leadership, out of the culture, out of what
Right.
it is. So if you, and this is because of your background and your experience too, of living in different cultures, living in Turkey, living in Brazil, living in Asia, in the Middle East. Those are very different cultures. But you said even too, there's hierarchy, and I believe it was in one of the countries where you had to really struggle to get people to understand
Right.
about servant leadership and what
Yep.
that means for the company and for the culture, so that
Hmm.
you can retain people. It's really about people. So
Yeah.
kind of explain a little bit about what the in Turkey, and then probably too in other countries too, in the US as well, but where servant leadership really became your mantra of how to change or eh, get leaders to see that this is the best way to lead, and not by iron fist, but by
Right.
servant leadership.
So I think it started when I moved to Turkey, and I'm working with 30 different countries. And traditionally the people who were in the job that I were in, they were kind of just like middlemen. They were just passing information about what was happening in the countries back into the center. Then the center would give demands back out of the countries. And it was, for me, I felt like this was you don't need me to do that, right? I don't want to be in the middle of this communication stream. I want to add actual value and create an impact. And so for me, I decided I'm going to serve and support these countries. I'm going to get to know their needs, understand what their barriers are. I'm going to bring that back into the center. We're going to come up with solutions to how we can help them, help their general managers, help their teams actually overcome the barriers that they're encountering, so that we can have more success, helping them share best practices across countries like Pakistan talking to Algeria, Morocco talking to Dubai, Saudi talking to Russia. So how can I build commonality across these very unique markets as well, so they're sharing and learning from each other as well? So I wanted to be a part of that movement, and I began practicing those muscles there, so that when I became general manager myself in Indonesia after 2.5 years in Turkey, and I moved from Istanbul to Jakarta, Indonesia, that was definitely my approach to coming into that market. However, as you mentioned, Indonesia is a highly hierarchical culture. Culturally, it's paternalistic. Culturally, it's hierarchical. And I'm coming here talking about inverting the hierarchy, and people in leadership work for the people who work for the customer. And my leaders are like, what are you talking about? Like, no, we're here to command and control. That's how you get the most of the people in this culture, is command and control. And so I had to demonstrate strong consistency and really stick to my guns, that I wasn't going to do what was easy or even what was expected in that cultural context, because I knew that it wasn't right for people. And so
Hmm.
over time, my consistency proved to the people that were working with me that Omar actually means this. Omar actually means that to work for him and work with him, we're going to have to serve and support these people. And we're going to have to get to know their struggles and get to know their challenges, and have to really listen to them and learn from them. And yeah, and so you were going to have to be that kind of leader to work with me, or else it wasn't going to work. And so that's really what I installed in that culture. And then moving back to Brazil, after 3.5 years of doing that in Indonesia, Brazil is much easier. Coming back to the US, people kind of crave it here in the West. People crave that type of leadership. They crave they don't want the command and control style anymore in the
Right,
West.
right.
And so we're evolving.
That is true. One of the things that you talked about is that, moving from one culture to another. So it's not really a black and white thing. It is really about people. And
100%.
and I want people to understand, especially those speakers that, take the stage, and obviously they have personal experiences and things like that, but don't take an activist role. Think of it as servant leadership, it's empathetic leadership, it's emotional intelligence, it's all
Yeah.
the things that you go in the book and some of the frameworks that you talk about.
Mhm.
One of the main things of the new book that's coming out, Whom, talk a little bit about it. It's like how to hire the right whom, and give us the acronyms of what that is, and what does that whom mean?
Mhm. So
The
I've been
W, the
working
H,
on this
the
for
O, and
over
M.
10,
Hmm.
yeah. I've been working on this for over 10 years, Pam. Um, and it is basically trying to figure out how to avoid making hiring mistakes, because it is very costly to an organization. When I think it costs like $17,000 per employee when you have to exit them out of your organization. That's in a small company. It could be up to upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars for higher level employees when you have to exit them out. And so I became kind of obsessed with figuring out how to hack the process of hiring. Just like I was obsessed with hacking the process of building high performance teams, I turned that to hiring. And Whom turns out is basically the introduction of character-based hiring into the world. So character-based hiring is versus pedigree, which is where you grew up or where you went to school, or kind of like those pedigree capabilities, and versus previous experience where you worked before. Did you work for like a big name company or work on a big name brand? We need to value character over pedigree and previous experience, because those things don't predict future performance. Pedigree and previous experience are poor predictors of future performance. But what is a great predictor, it turns out scientifically, of future performance is high character. Things like work ethic, which is the W in Whom, heart, which is the H, optimism, which is the O, and maturity, which is the M. And so work ethic, heart, optimism, and maturity, those 4 character attributes, if you can source for those, you can train all the rest. All the other skills and capabilities you're looking for out of people can be trained, but you cannot replace poor character.
That is so true. I like that, because it now takes out a lot of the bots, right, that are reading up resumes and that sort of thing, because you can really say, oh, well, I went to Yale, or I went to Harvard, or I went to Howard, but it's like, well, what is your heart? What is your work ethic? What is, because sometimes you can even have people sign NDAs and they break them anyway because they have bad character, right? And so now it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace that person, besides maybe the shady stuff that they did, breaking their NDA or whatever. So those are the kind of things in terms of your leadership training that you're teaching people around the country, for your clients. Do you individually coach individual leaders if they're not, like, say for instance, if it's a leader that maybe is in middle management and they want to go to the next level, do you do that type of coaching as well?
I sure do. I do coaching at all levels: individual contributors, new managers, managers of managers, and
New
executives.
managers.
New managers as well, especially new managers, because they need this.
Yeah.
You think you're going to get training as a new manager, and you're not going to get trained. You're going to get sink or swim. And so that's why I have a thriving, successful executive coaching business, because people need this. They realize they need it. And my approach to executive coaching is very different than other executive coaches, in that I also provide counsel and guidance, and I also coach your team. So I don't just coach you. If you are an executive, I coach your team. And that's really where the value comes in. I am a high performance team coach in addition to executive coach. And that's a differentiator for me in the marketplace.
That is one of the things, because it's like someone who's taking golf lessons and they have maybe been golfing for a while and they've created bad habits.
Right.
So when they start the lessons, it's like, oh, well, I wasn't doing it that way. Well, that's why it wasn't working. So you need someone to help you correct the errors or the thoughts or the things that you were thinking, and then do it the right way. So let's talk about some of your, because we have Omar L. Harris. I'm going to go through the magazine, but let's talk about like one of your favorite frameworks that you created and you love to share and teach and speak on.
So let's talk about Whom. This is the framework. I mean, I've developed an entire psychometric assessment and platform now that goes along with the book. So when you buy the Whom book, Pam, you're going to get an individual access code to take your own psychometric assessment that will tell you your Whom, where you're strong and where you have opportunities to improve in terms of work ethic, heart, optimism, and maturity. There's 22 different subcategories of each of those letters. And so we all have opportunities to bring more Whom, bring more character to our work, but also we can begin assessing our teams, and you can also begin utilizing it to in your hiring. So basically, I'm launching the Hiring Hub beta for Whom in September, along with the book, where a select set of clients will be actually accessing the full Hiring Hub tool, which includes the psychometric assessment and the behavioral interview component, that when you put them together, we reduce mishires by over 50%.
Mm,
So it's
that is
tremendous
good.
value for especially small to medium sized companies. If you have 10 to 500 employees, whom is for you. If you are an executive coach or consultant wanting to bring this to your clients, I'm also creating an ambassador program for other coaches and consultants to bring this to their clients as well. Whom is a revolution. We're bringing high character back into our organization. We're making character important again
That
into our
is good.
organization.
Yeah. I love assessments. People can locate themselves because now they know what they need to work on.
Yes.
So they are assessing themselves based on I guess it's the quiz or the test that you
Yes.
created, so they can
Yes.
locate themselves and find and be honest with themselves and figure out where it is that they need to be. So I'm going to go through the magazine. So this particular, I said, it's a special issue because you wrote primarily the articles in here, and I want you to write it because we're talking about the power of the pivot,
Mhm.
and really give people a idea of what it is. It's like, okay, don't throw on the towel for 2025. Okay, we're gonna come out of this. Don't have don't have a meltdown
Right.
about what's going on here. So first, let's go to the cover. How about that? So we go to the cover and really talking about the power of the pivot,
Mhm.
and really August being Black Business Month, and really Speakers Magazine, 8 years old, unapologetically supporting and promoting Black speakers. But there's a time where the Black speakers need to do a pivot, and that was, I felt that this year was the year that a lot of speakers needed to do some kind of pivot and not be so, what you talked about, so activist oriented in terms of like approaching corporations, but learning how to share what it is that they need to do from a business standpoint.
Mhm.
So the next page really talks about your book here. This is the
Mhm.
one that's coming out Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Hire the right whom, Labor Day weekend. And this one talks about work ethic, heart, optimism, and maturity.
Yes.
The whole point of this particular book is to help people from um, those hiring mistakes, and then also too for other coaches to use this in their training programs as well. So I
Yes.
really like
Yes.
that. The side on here, and there's videos here as well. There's a video, I believe, of you here on Expert Insight. So if we kind of hit this, you can kind of see the video of you here. This is just like your sizzle reel.
Oh, nice.
That
Nice.
when we were at Expert Insight. So all of them have, I think at the front here, I think is the Expert Insight show where you're here.
Yeah.
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 So they're all, so go to speakersmagazine.com and you can read this. A lot of this Speak Sell Shine, you were at the National Press Club. You were part of the first cohort
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
that you were part of, and that was so um good. You got a reel, you got to go to the press club, you got to meet a lot of the media, things like that. But one of the things is it really just kind of like gave you the assets that you needed to kind of go forward and do the things.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
particular one talks a little bit about why this issue and who's in this issue on the publisher's page. And then Paul Wilson, who is a person that went from employee to entrepreneur. Now, he'd always had like an entrepreneur business on the side consulting, but this was the year that he stepped out on his own. He was vice president at the Urban League.
Mhm.
And the Urban League, again, Omar, is one of those companies that was started out of way back then where, things were, kind of activist, kind of oriented. Well, over the years, they've gotten a lot of um, funds and grants. But then of recent years, just in 2025, there's less and less. And part of it is like, okay, you can read the writing on the wall. Is it now the time that I strike out on my own? And that's what he's doing. He's had probably a couple of decades working for a lot of incubators, working with African Americans, and then the Urban League. He's working with. So now he's on his own, and his moniker here is the Dream Catalyst, taking strategies by storm. So it's almost like you got to walk your talk. If you're a
Mhm.
catalyst, you got to be the catalyst for yourself first. So he's walking out and he's actually doing that right now as well. And then the next page is really a story that you talked about. I want you to kind of dig into this a little bit, but the decline of DEI, what happened and what's next. And you kind of give a little bit of a history of that. And I love that. So kind of give us a history about the DEI. And so what's
Right.
next?
Yeah. I mean, hindsight is 2020, and it's a good time to do a retrospective to figure out what we got right and what we got wrong. And and what we can learn moving forward into the future to doing the work that we're trying to do. And so, I really wanted to just describe the journey and all the ways that we've been doing this work for 80 years now. This is not new. And we've always had to pivot. We had to pivot out of civil rights and pivot into the fight for affirmative action. We pivot out of affirmative action for the fight for, anti-sexual harassment in the 90s with Anita Hill. We pivot out of, and so pivoting is part and parcel to the work, to keep the work alive. We have to stay agile. We have to understand really well the opposition that we're facing, and we have to win hearts and minds. At the end of the day, that's what it ultimately comes down to, is winning hearts and minds. Because without hearts and minds, you're not going to move the needle forward. And so I wanted to provide some hopefully some inspiration, Pam, in the article, by giving a retrospective of where we've come, how far we've come, but also how far we're going to go, and that this is not the end for any of us. This is just a period of learning, licking our wounds a little bit, and regrouping. And now let's get back to it. So, I mean, I think that, everyone I know who is still very active in the space, no one is stopping, but everyone is embracing a little bit more of a pivot around even language, around offerings, around how do we expand that tent? How do we, be a little bit less reactive, more proactive, a little bit more less activistic, a little bit more embracing of everyone. So I think that's kind of what we've learned, and what we're going to have to utilize to take this thing forward.
One of the things that you open with, it says, the long before diversity, equity, and inclusion became the line item in corporate budgets, a headline in HR brochures, or a lightning rod in the culture, there was the work. And then the work was dangerous. And then you went on and talked about, Brown versus Brown, dismantling segregation in schools, the bus boycotts, the freedom rides, the counter sit-ins. And this is in our lifetime. So this is like, really? Bloody Sunday, obviously that was one. Muhammad Ali refusing, the
War.
about the war. Affirmative action, obviously that has been a big thing. And then that was DEI. Anita Hill, like you were saying, I remember watching that on television, watching her in front of the on television there in the courtroom. And then the fight for marriage equality, that really, talked about that too. That was DEI as well. But you really talk more or less like what is next, and you give some pointers. So I want people to go in and really, take this, print it out or whatever, but really talk about, name our North Star and define what is widely important goals, the wigs you call them, and to reframe the narrative. Don't whitewash it, just reframe it. It's the work still needs to be done. If you have to name it a different name, that's fine. But I really, really want people to go to that particular article and read that as well. Then we have the story, which has the videos here as well, so you can see those videos are in the issue as well. And this one here, I want to say, okay, it says playback and voice. Okay, it's been disabled. Well, this one here is there. And that one was you were raising the bar. That was your speaker reel as well. So that was the one where you were actually at. I like how you opened it. And it says, I am Omar one.
Omar Kenobi, the Jedi leader.
Yeah. So that was good. So go and read that. And Intent Consulting, give me the genesis of how you came up with the name of your company there. Where did
I think intent comes before action. So really being clear about what we're trying to achieve, and elevating that intention, leading, one of the things about manifestation, right, is to have a clear intention, right? And so for me, like, intent is everything, and so when I go into corporations, I try to understand their intent and help them calibrate their intent. So if you were intending to create a great employee experience, but you have processes and practices that are toxic, then you're not living your intent. So everything is intent, and me having clear intent behind why I do what I do, and knowing my why and helping your why. Executive coaching, helping clients understand their why, helping them understand their North Star so they can live their best lives as well. So that's all intent. So for me, it just kind of like was a no-brainer when I was coming up with naming the company, that it was going to be intent.
I love it. I love it. Now, the next one really goes a little bit where people were so excited about getting these certifications and, oh, I'm
Yeah.
certified as a woman owned business, a black owned business. I'm certified as a this and that. There, there was a big season, I guess you'd say, like a gold rush of getting these badges and putting them on your website, because then you would then be open to getting these certain contracts based on the certification. And government, even larger corporations were saying, hey, are you certified? And it was almost like the certifications, even though you're black, but they just want to certify that you're black, that you can get these particular these particular quote unquote set asides.
Right.
Is it good or bad? I mean, I know it's a whole, we got a few minutes left, but it's a whole conversation about these certifications. And I will say that the certification process in itself is an industry and a business by itself.
Yes, it
Period.
is.
So just think about that. So that's why if anybody tells you you need to have one, it's like because maybe it's in the best interest for you to get it, because then it keeps that company in business. But
Right.
let's talk about the certifications, why they came about and why it is maybe necessary. And it was really to level the playing field, so to speak, because if a company is always just awarding a contract to a particular um, organization that's not minority, then it
Mhm.
was like a way to really just say, hey, you need to have a certain percentage of contracts that go to certified uh, companies. So kind
Right.
of give us the psychology of it.
I mean, for me, certifications are like gatekeepers. So it's some of it's preventative. It's kind of to see if you have achieved the right scale and
Mhm.
size where you can afford a certification. Not all of us out here working can afford to spend thousands of dollars on these certifications. We just want to do the work. But if that's the limiter, if that's going to keep you from having a seat at the table, then you have to play the game
Yeah.
as it exists, right? Um, and also was kind of a way for inside of these companies where they want to know that you've achieved a certain level before they invest in bringing you in to give you a master service agreement. As you know, all of us who work in the consulting or coaching field, we know that MSA is the prize, right? You get an MSA with the company you're in, now you can work. So we understand that if the certification is the barrier, then that's what we're gonna have to do to get our way into those organizations. But there's plenty of organizations, plenty of people who have succeeded without certifications as well. And also we learned that what can be given can be taken away. So if
Yeah.
that was important, what was important in 21, 22 around getting certified, they can now utilize that to say, oh, we want to get rid of everybody who was certified so we can as proof that we're complying with governmental policies or executive mandates, right? And so it became a double-edged sword to have a certification where
Hmm.
you were easily targeted after the events. And so we understand that these things are political, and once you understand that something is political, then it can swing either way, and you
Yes.
have to make a judgment call about whether it's worth it or not. For me, the thing that will always distinguish yourself is not a certification, but the degree of your relationships and who's willing to fight for you inside of that organization. Because if you have a person inside the organization willing to fight for you and your services, you don't need any certifications.
There
You
you
just
go.
need one person who has clout, who wants to work with you. They'll get you in, they'll get it done, and you can actually do the work you want to do. So, you know, we some of us think that a certification is an easy way in. It's not
Mm-mm.
guaranteed, and it
No.
could also be an easy way out. So you got to be careful. So that's all what I talk about in this article is around kind of the philosophy, the culture around certifications, and it's not bad or good, but be careful about using
Just
those
relying
badges.
on it.
Yeah, just be
Mhm.
careful because it could also be used against you.
Yeah, I like that. Don't rely on it. It's good to have
Yeah,
it. And one of
exactly.
the things within these certifications, they make you pull yourself together for all of the paperwork and the documents and the things that you need to have anyway. And so they
Yeah,
just feel a level of comfort that you went through that
right,
process to really have it approved.
right,
But it started out really so that uh, more women and minority groups, African Americans specifically, was a way to get corporate contracts.
Hmm.
At the opposite end, or the more radical end of that, to make the playing field level,
Hmm.
would be to do reparations for African Americans. I know that's been an age old kind of thing. We've had Nikichi Taifa talk about that as well. So it was like, oh, we'll do affirmative action, we'll do DEI, but we won't do reparations. And so it can, the things that the atrocities that have happened to Black people in this country, it is just amazing we are still here, and we will be here. But it's just, if you really look at the history of it, like, wow, what other race has gone through this much and still standing and still thriving and doing the things that we have. So I want to encourage people that, yes, there have been some hiccups this year, like there's not been any hiccups in our history here in America, but there are some things that we can do, and to be smart about it.
This is
um,
far from the worst time we've lived through in history. Far from the
Definitely.
worst time.
It
So
is.
so let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Let us take our lumps, understand and learn, and then pivot. That's what we're
Mhm.
supposed to do.
Mhm. And really, the last, two, well, not the last two, but the two lady, speakers here that are featured in this issue, they want to be in this particular issue, talk about the power of the pivot. One, she went through Speak, Sell, Shine as Esther Diller, Too Old to Succeed, and over 50, she really went back into a journalism, career after a little bit of gap of doing some other things. She was raising her son who had autism, and really she talked about how she leaned it into a pivot here. Really, really love Esther there. Her speaker reel, I believe, is in this as well. You can kind of watch a little bit of that, of her reel. And then the Saran Baker, she talks about it's time to do life differently and support Black-owned businesses while you're at it. Now
Mhm.
that's a whole soapbox that I can get on, but from the standpoint, not just Black-owned businesses, but Black-owned businesses that are excellent. So sometimes you can, and Omar, you probably have had this, where you make a referral recommendation to a company because it's African American, but if they don't do good work, then you're doing disservice of all the other African American businesses that you would want to recommend. So what she's saying is that, think about, recommending and referring or doing business with Black owned businesses, but also make sure that they are not just doing it just because they are Black, but they're doing work and they just happen to be Black. So that's kind of like the take on that there, about supporting each other. Or if you see that they do need to come up, you need to tell them that, hey, you need to come up a little bit, because if you want to continue to get contracts, these are the things that you need to do. So when you say support them, but yeah, by recommending referral, but also support them in terms of telling them things that they need to get right.
So Pam,
And
to
then
that
this,
degree, what I would say is we got to reduce our ego
yeah,
so that we can receive feedback.
ooh, that part right
We're
there.
just trying to help each other. So if I say something, if I go to your establishment and I pull the manager aside and I say, hey, um, I really love this establishment, but there's this, and this. Like, don't respond to me with defensiveness or ego or justification. Like, just listen, because I do the same thing. Like, people tell me, my clients tell me, like, Omar, you need to level up this, level up that. Pam, you tell me where I need to level up, and so I can't meet that with ego or defensiveness. I have to receive that information and say, okay, I embrace that, and how can I continuously improve? Because you're doing it out of love, not out
Hmm.
of, you're not trying to hurt me.
No.
You're trying to spread love. You're trying to elevate, and we elevate by being open to criticism and to
Hmm.
being able to receive that, and not always be so defensive, which is really just the ego
Yeah,
talking.
it is. And one of the things that I remember, my first business coach I had many years ago, probably about 17, 18 years ago, that he was very critical from the standpoint of, like, why did you do this? I mean, he was just asking questions. And at a certain point in time, I was like defensive about things. And he
Hmm.
said, listen, if everything you're doing right is right, why did you hire me?
1,000%. You don't need me. You don't need me. Then what do you? If
It's
you're
like,
perfect, if you're
it's like,
perfect,
if you got to
then
fit everything I
yeah,
show you that you need to fix, why did you hire me? And
right.
that just made me laugh. I said, you know what? You're right. I said, let me get, like you said, get my ego, put that aside and listen. Because listen, I didn't hire him for him to just yes man me on everything I'm doing, because
Right.
then
Yeah.
it wouldn't get better. So yeah,
That's the point. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
part right there is so funny to me, because yeah, you do. And when you are a coach and you're executive coach, you have to listen to your coach. If you're and Omar is an executive success coach, so he the point of it is he wants to make you a success. So the things that he's sharing with you, they're from books that he's written, that he spent many years researching, and things he's learned over four continents over a couple of decades. So it's like, yeah, I think it's something that I probably need to listen to. So that is really really key. And Esther, she was a television news anchor in Flynn, and now she's working with Black Information Network. But and she won a Gracie Award for a book, and she just won her second Gracie Award. But that would not have happened if she didn't step out and really do a pivot,
Hmm.
and stepping out of her comfort zone and that sort of thing. And it's never too old to do that. I mean, it's never too old. Ken Brown is a gentleman out of Chicago, the voice you need when equity, empowerment, and real solutions take are on the table. And so what you just kind of said is that it's not about activism, it's about solutions. And that's really where he is. And so at one point in time, he doesn't speak from theory. From he speaks from the trenches, um, from titles and from truth. His message resonates across industries, and he understands the urgency of the moment of marginalized communities that don't need inspiration, they just need infrastructure. So one of the things he does is that they may need funding, they need access and leadership. And so he wanted to be in this particular issue as well, that talked about really building up Black businesses, but really just talking about the mindset and the diversity in business that is needed, and really just helping people get that whole part of the infrastructure. And really one of the main things he talks about too is that it's a call to action. And it's a development company that he has, real estate development, that talks about foundational building of a community. It's almost like community development in a way. So
Hmm.
that's one of the things. And he's out of Chicago there. Ken Brown, as well. And then here we talk about Speak, Sell, Shine. And let's kind of give us a little bit, because then we kind of end up here, about Speak, Sell, Shine, and what it is that, I think this particular video here, yeah, this was the reel, the highlight reel. So when we did Speak, Sell, Shine, we really focus on speaking, and most speakers do that well. The sales part is the personal development program, or the entrepreneurial part. So, and then in the shine is the PR. But
Right.
that middle part, the sales part, is where I feel most speakers don't do well, because they're so busy doing the work, they don't realize that marketing and selling is really a part of it. Books don't, you can write a great book, but you still have to market and sell it. So
Yeah.
kind of tell us a little bit about the personal experience that you had with Speak Sell Shine at the press club.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, first of all, Pam, the reason why I love working with you and I want to affirm you is because you are an innovator. You are constantly trying to find ways to elevate and serve this community of Black speakers. And this is a phenomenal product. It's a phenomenal program because you come in wherever you are. We're all in different places. And for everybody, no matter whether you've been speaking on stages for 5, 10 years, whether you're brand new to the game, you're trying to get in, you have a book that's just come out, whether you're trying to improve along the margins, there's going to be something here for you. We all need, I mean, as we get older or as we evolve, we all, our weight goes up, goes down. So you might need a new photo shoot. You might need a new, might need a new speaker reel. You might have a new something you want to get on camera. So it's a
Right.
phenomenal investment because you're going to leave there, first of all, with media. You're also going to lead with a lot of training around how to sell and position yourself in the
Yeah.
marketplace.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
some of the tools, some of the
it's,
little tools and things that we share with you, of like where you need to go and where you need to be. That was really, really important. It's like, hey, they need to be on these type of programs, or they need to have these type of you know, tools. One of them was
right.
Speaker Match, not
Yep.
Speaker Match, Speaker Hub.
Speaker
uh,
Hub,
Speaker Hub, and Gig Salad.
Podmatch is yours.
Yes, and then also too, you were on Gig Salad. You had me cracking up. You said you found something that people found you on Gig Salad.
Yep. Gig Salad. I mean, whatever it is, like you have to expand your footprint. The onus of marketing is on us, right? We have to do it. It's not going to be done for you. And yeah, and it's also the network. You get a network with these cohorts. You get a group of people who you can go on a journey with, and so that's also very important. Always important to
Mhm.
network.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's a phenomenal product. It's very selective. It's not for everybody. You have to be at a
no,
certain level to get in. But for me, I've definitely seen the boost for myself
good, good. And
since
Willie Jolly came in too, and he told everyone as well. Willie Jolly's a Hall of Fame speaker, and he
yeah.
said, "Listen, I still sell myself. I still make calls,
Hmm.
outbound calls." And that was like, really, it's like, yeah, if I want to speak at a particular church, I'll call up the pastor and say, hey, do you have a men's day coming up? I'd like a message to share. And basically he has the materials he sent is real and whatever, people know his name, but he said he still does that. And so I
Hmm.
want speakers to know that you still have to promote yourself, because they will not remember you unless you make that pitch. You
Hmm.
got to pitch often. And if you don't want to pitch, then at least have a publicist that will help pitch you. Get yourself positioned where you have articles written.
Hmm.
What are some of the things that, if we were talking to, we got about 5 minutes, a speaker who's just getting started and say they're in the leadership development space? I want people to know that that space is a good space, but you've got to know what's unique. What's unique about Omar? You can't replicate his experience, right? You can't replicate all of that. So the way he speaks and how he talks is his thing. But what are the areas, Omar, that have been the most helpful for you in terms of getting clients? Has it been LinkedIn? Has it been doing videos? What has been the main thing?
I think the books and the media, I would
Yeah,
say, are the two
books.
top things. I think
Good
that
books. Okay, let's talk about.
yeah,
Okay,
good
because
books, well produced
people.
books with professional covers, with professional editing,
Yes.
with understanding how to work Amazon. So that's a whole other. The publishing is a whole other thing, but
Yeah.
the book is a calling card. The book, think of the book is, it doesn't matter how much the book sells on Amazon. What matters is writing a book positions you as an expert in your field.
Yeah.
Because to write a book of 135 pages, you have to do some research. You have to learn some things. You have to refine your message and hone what you're talking. You have to know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And so that is it's a great training practice for you to get your message together, because you have to know
Mhm.
what you're gonna what you're talking about. More importantly, why you're talking about it and why you. So why this, why you, why now?
Mhm.
Right. I think those are the three things that you need to figure out for yourself if you want to be a speaker. Why this topic, why you, and why now? If you can answer those three questions, you're going to be able to position yourself in the marketplace, because there's a lot of speakers, um, but it's very competitive. It's tremendously competitive. So
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
really got any edge you can find, get that edge. And a
Yeah,
book
yeah.
is a big edge. A book is a big edge.
And it also helps organize your content that you could share out further on LinkedIn and articles. So you may take a chapter from the book and then
Exactly.
really expand it out, or just talk about it, or do a video from it. So I call it, this is your first content starter. It's
Yeah.
really your
There you go.
first content starters, because this is everything that's in your head. And then you probably have some parts you couldn't put in the book, because you don't want to have a 1,000-page book, right? So you got some scraps over there, so you can use
Right.
that part as the content for other things like you do with your LinkedIn newsletter. And I want people to go to Omar L. Harris,
Yeah.
subscribe to his, on his site, and then also to his LinkedIn newsletter. But I like how you broke up this particular one: part one, part two, part three, and the whole things, as well as not just the chapters, but the it's just different, you know. Do you help people with books as well? Do you help
I
coach?
do. I do. I do book coaching, do
Yeah,
book support. I can build you a customized book marketing plan.
I think that's good.
Because we need to know I've created my own model for book publishing, which is get found, get feedback, get fans, and get famous. So
That's it.
that's how you, it's called book, it's called author discovery. So you want to be discovered, you got to get found, which means you have to have an online, you have to have your online presence, you have to be able to be found on Amazon, whatever it is. You have to get you got to get feedback, you have to get reviews. Reviews are the lifeblood of your book
Yes.
online.
Yes.
You got to get fans. So you have to basically transform people from casual readers into actual fans of yours, like 1,000 true fans. Like, who are the people who will support you, come to your, sign up for your newsletter, push your messages online, and then you
Mhm.
need to get famous. Like, to be famous is not like fame like in the reality TV sense, but fame in terms of being the expert in your domain. That is fame. Is when we talk about fame, is what we're talking about, is
Yeah.
becoming known for your expertise and
In your
how to get
niche.
that with
Mhm.
awards, with different types of ways to distinguish becoming a bestseller. These are things that distinguish you amongst the rest, that allow you to be found once again, to perpetuate the whole cycle all over again.
I like that. So, if you want someone to help you with the book marketing, of book packaging, and of what is a good cover, good editor, Omar L. Harris can coach you through that process. It's a whole thing by itself. It's a whole industry by itself. I'm gonna have you come to Speak Sell Shine, not this year because you've been on the road,
Yeah,
but you can do one of our sessions that
we'll
after
do
that
it.
on
Yep,
um
book
book
marketing. Yep,
publishing,
yep,
you
book
know, to
publishing.
that
Yeah.
to that cohort. It's a special training for them. And then also too, you were on Rashawn McDonald's Money Making
Oh,
Conversations
sure
as well.
was.
So we've got to get you back on there as well. Rashawn is at Speak Sell Shine this year as Mentor of the Year. He's
Oh, nice.
Mentor of the Year
Perfect.
award. He is so.
He's a
If you
great guy.
talk to Rashawn,
Yeah,
he's going to
he's
give you some
fantastic.
advice.
Yeah,
He's the guy. He's the brand maker. He's
yeah,
worked with Steve Harvey, Stephen Smith.
yeah.
He
He's
knows everybody, but he knows
fantastic.
how
Incredible.
to
Yeah.
build up brands and build a person up. He's a very
Mhm.
big exhorter and encourager. So he's a mentor of the year. He's coming to Speak Sell Shine this year as well. So
That's
people
awesome.
go to Speak Sell Shine if you're interested. Fill out the application there. Go to Omar L. Harris if you want executive coaching or you need book coaching. If you're a speaker, you need book coaching. You need a good book. I've seen some bad books. I can't promote bad books. I can only promote it. So it's so a lot of times people come to me the book. I was like, this is all Chat GPT. There's nothing
Yeah,
in here.
yeah.
So you need someone to really help you with the book and packaging and how to do that whole Amazon. All his books have been Amazon bestsellers. So you need someone to kind of walk you through that. Omar, if you're a speaker or coach, you want to learn that from another speaker or coach, how they've done that. So thank you so much, Omar, for joining us
Yeah.
today. This has been good. This has been good. So make sure people go to Speakers Magazine this month and read this particular issue. All righty. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye bye.